Greetings, bloggers, vloggers, followers, and potters. Dustin here from Dustin's Dynasty with another edition of this week's vlog. If you haven't been following me, my name is Dustin. I'm autistic and have other mental health challenges. I'm almost 40 years old. I've been doing this autism thing for almost all of those decades, and I have been living on my own for about over 6 years, and I have been employed through a part-time job for nearly 15 years. So, without further ado, let's get into this week's topic, where I'm going to talk about self-esteem. Self-esteem is something that I heard as a word growing up, maybe on a TV show or something, and never really knew what it was or knew what it meant. And we hear a lot about taking care of ourselves these days, a lot about taking care of our mental health. And for an autistic person such as myself, that requires a little more TLC and self-care for us. But really, when we talk about self-esteem, and I had to even Google it, and I know that's like the forbidden fruit to Google things, but I never knew what that meant. And until I knew what it meant, it was how you feel and think about yourself. And, oftentimes I think about that now that if you had brought that up in a plain layman's terms, how do I feel and think about myself? And it varies, I have to say, as far as I go. I mean, life is always challenging. There's many things in the game of life that make things difficult for a person such as myself. Things are not always easy, although I do pretty well with many things. And it's taken a long time to get to that point in my life where the things that I need to do are able to be done. Like I said, it's not easy. But I do it. And sometimes I don't feel good about myself. And I think everybody at one point or another doesn't feel or think good about themselves. Things don't always go the way that we intend sometimes. We don't always get what we want. And that's something for an autistic person that is even more challenging. I think when we don't get what we want, I shouldn't say that we don't get what we want, but when things aren't the way that we expect them to be, or they don't fall in line, we feel bad about ourselves. Um, we feel like we don't matter. We feel selfish, and there have been many times in my life where I have taken out my anger and my frustration personally with close people because I feel like I'm not being heard, I'm not being validated, and that is of a whole other point. But it's somewhat acting childish and feeling childish because my needs aren't met, or I don't feel that things should be a way or something like that. But there's times I feel good about myself, and I try to make that more often than not recently. And now that I see self-esteem and know what that is, I'm working at finding what makes me feel good, what makes me think good of things about myself. And there are good things, there are many good things about myself that I continue to see and continue to know as time goes on. But it wasn't always that easy. I always wanted to point out everything negative about my life. Negative, negative, negative. I was one who always pointed out the negative feelings, the negative thoughts. And, sometimes, those that are close to me, particularly family, would hear these things, and I would never stop ranting about these things because I couldn't stop. And I took a lot of my family had taken a lot of verbal abuse on that. But there's different kinds of self-esteem. And there's the high self-esteem, which where you feel good about yourself. And and today is like one of those days. It's like, well, today's March 1st, it's a new month. We look at the spring, the possibility of spring, and that possibly, there's, you have the prospect of having a good month, and looking forward to, new things. And spring's just around the corner. Meteorological spring in Pittsburgh here is today, so that's always a good thing. But, and then there's times, when you don't feel good about yourself, and there's difficulty understanding that you are valuable and you are loved. Sometimes you need those confidence boost or something, it could be a friend posting something on Facebook, letting them know that you're loved, you value, you matter. And even though, that sounds corny and childish, it can be very well true because sometimes you need that confidence boost when you feel down and out on yourself. And, it can be hard when you feel down and out on yourself, especially when you're autistic or have mental health challenges such as myself. You think life can throw a million hurdles up against you, and you can feel so like down and out and so sad and so angry and bitter and just mad at the world. And you just want to, you want to think of a million reasons why you should be mad at yourself. But it gets better. And I think sometimes, you have those moments, but you can't just sit around and sulk about it for forever in a day, because then nothing gets done and you feel more sad and more upset as time goes on. And it's just something that you don't want to experience. And then there's, the inflated self, where you think you're better than everybody else. And I've been struggling with this too, in recent weeks. You think there's times when I think, my brain will get to me and it'll think things that, because maybe I'm feeling a certain way towards myself or others that are not involved in something, or maybe my personal needs are not met, or maybe I'm not at ease, that I want things to go away. I don't want them to have to manage them or cope with them. And sometimes I'll have that inflated self-esteem, and it's not appropriate. It's never appropriate, but it happens. And I wish it didn't. I just I don't like it, and it's not who I am as a person of a true heart, or a true person who needs to feel that way about themselves. You should never feel that you're better than anyone else. We all struggle in our own way. And I think, as a person who has a disability, who is autistic, who has mental health challenges, looking at people differently and thinking that they're less than, or things like that. I always say the Temple Grandin quote, you are different, but you're never less. And I did get to watch that movie a couple days ago, and that was it was the HBO movie, and I got to see it. It was very good. And so showing me that there is potential, and it keeps going as there's more and more potential as time goes on. It's never easy, but reality is, life will always throw a million curveballs in the way, and you have to learn how to cope with them. You have to learn how to cope with the challenges, that, things that, you may, to be able to interact with others, to be able to tolerate others, to be able to manage your well-being and your mental state, um, without reacting negatively or excluding anyone or calling anyone out or making anyone else feel, that have that, when you have that inflated sense of self-esteem, that you don't want to have that. It's something you don't want to have. So, you need, it's part of the self-worth and your abilities, and your morals. I mean, what do you feel is morally right? And look at, that's a big thing too. But also looking at your abilities, look at all the things, like I think about myself, and I wrote a blog post about it. It'll be out in a couple of weeks. But, look at all the things I do in a course of a week or a day, and the impact that I am making on so many people. And it's both, and it's not in a way to boost my own horn, but sometimes to give me that little inspiration to get through the challenging times. The impact I'm making, whether I'm sharing things on social media, or I'm writing my blog posts, or I'm doing my vlog as I am now, or just things in real life. And I don't like to boast on those things, but they do give me a little bit of a boost of self-confidence and make me feel good about myself in a way. Knowing my worth too, that I'm worthy of things, and just as much as any other human. And it's not like a toxic positivity thing, but just you got to have that boost, and feel good about yourself, even when, the life can throw a million curveballs, and you think so much negative. And I was one who always had so much negative about the world, and I do at times, and I feel really down and out about myself at times, but I always pick myself back up and do things to boost that self-confidence. And here are some ways that you can do that. Be kind. I think it's a simple thing, and sometimes it is a struggle, but you don't. I'm always kind, to anybody. Earlier this week, I was off a couple days. I thanked the person from Meals on Wheels who dropped a meal off for a neighbor. I told him thank you for the work that they do. Just something as simple as that, you know, um, letting them know that they're cared and they're appreciated for the work that they do. I think that goes a long way. Just simple things. I'm a big boost on the random acts of kindness. You know, the calendar, I always look at it every day and think of a way to be kind. Um, be self-accepting. Accept yourself for who you are and your challenges, the way that you are, the way things are in your life. I think, I had a lot of doubts for a long time about myself, and I figured out what those were a few years ago. And understanding, even though I am autistic and I do have challenges, I'm different, but I'm never less, just like that quote from Temple Grandin. And, that can say a lot about something. Um, you know, Look at your strengths and your weaknesses. I have many strengths that, you know, I think I don't ever think about, but just as an autistic person who 25 years ago was near, well, almost 25 years ago was um put in residential placement, and then eventually, able to come back and return home with family. And while that wasn't a perfect integration until it was, that I'm living on my own and have been doing so for 6 years now, and have an associate's degree, and work part-time for 15 years. That alone speaks enough in volumes, I believe. Um, you know, it's just, you have to have those goals and, you know, achievements. You have to see those things. Like I just said, like, I went to vocational school an hour away from home. I stayed on a campus with other individuals with disabilities. Was it great? Did I enjoy it? I mean, did I make friends the way I should have? No, but we got over that. I did well when people said I wouldn't. There was many people against me. They had many reservations about me coming there, and I proved them all wrong. Have a positive relationship with those that you know. Have a positive relationship with yourself sometimes. Sometimes you don't feel good about yourself, but you need to. You need to feel more good about yourself and know that you're doing the best that you can sometimes. You know, um, you know, avoid dwelling in anger and upset. Sometimes for the longest time within the past year or so, I had as angry over some changes that occurred in my life, and I took it out verbally on those close to me, but I never really processed the situation to see that what I'm doing now is much better than what was in the past. And once I started to let that go, I was able to have some relief and some feel good feeling, and things have actually gotten better as a result. Um, you know, I'm sorry, I take notes because it's better for me now. Um, you know, you know, I can't read that. But anyway, I can't read my handwriting. It's funny, but I can't read that. But it's just those things, some of those things, have positive, things that, just be positive and try to be positive and try to have that good self-worth, have that good self-esteem because, it's good to, when you feel good about yourself, you're able to accomplish so much more. And, I get it, life's challenging. As autism, as I'm always told, is something that's not always easy to bear. There's always things to put us up, against us, and we have to fight things, and we have to fight for the accommodations we need, or just the simple things we need. But we have to, and it's been time and time again for myself that I have continually proved what people had reservations about had proved them wrong, and I continue to do that. So, with that being said, I want to thank you for listening today. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Pinterest. That handle is Dustin's Dynasty. I'm on the web. That address is www.dustinsdynastyusa.com. And lastly, I have a link tree. That handle is Dustin's Dynasty. Again, I want to thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.